All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner. You're joining me live in my hotel room, and I kicked the maids out like I always do, like Sancho always does. Folks, got a great guest today. Ron Partain is going to be joining me. Folks, hit the notification button, like, share, do all that good stuff. Help me help you, folks. And I hope this light in the background doesn't distract many of you, but I got to be able to read my notes. Folks, Venmo, D-Rod 1977, D-Rod 1977. If you leave me a little token of an appreciation, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. You can ask your questions on there as well. Folks, also, when the lights go out on Amazon, please leave an honest review. That's all I really ask for. My mama's book as well, The Mexican Mix. Leave an honest review on that as well. We're going to be talking a lot today about the meeting with Trump and not Zelensky. He wasn't invited. Trump and Putin. Where is this going to lead? And right before the meeting, Zelensky does another drone attack. What does that say? It means to me no peace deal. Don't be looking forward to any kind of peace deal coming. Being very, very defiant. This is going against NATO, going against Europe. They're mad. And I got to tell you, who controls all them? The globalists. What don't they want to see? They do not want to see Trump and Putin come to any kind of an agreement. I'll tell you that much. Also, we'll be talking about Karen Bass, Newsom, the ICE raids right there at Newsom's conference. This is getting good, folks. This is getting real good. Folks, Nino'sCorner.tv, Wano saving the ghost. Jerome Corsi will be the next general in the General's Tent, August 28th, 5 p.m. Jerome Corsi, that's going to be fire. Ringside with Nino is going to be the second and last Wednesday of the month. So the last Wednesday of this month will be another Ringside with Nino. Get over there. We war game. We talk about everything, opinions, intel, the whole thing. It's fun. And with that being said, folks, my bad. Get Olive today. It's a different one today. We've partnered with Dr. MD Gundry to share this information with you. Would you believe me if I told you inside your pantry right now is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yep, it's true. And it's not some weird, trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. Obviously, it's not helping me very much with my eyesight. You're probably used to cooking with it, but there's countless ways to use olive oil to help yourself look and feel better. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides as well. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a famous cardiac surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should get as much high-quality olive oil into your daily routine as possible, whether it's taking it a shot daily or keeping a bottle of it in your bathroom medicine cabinet. You need this stuff. But what kind of olive oil is best for your health? Well, any kind of olive oil can give you some benefits. But if you're looking to get the best results, it matters a lot which one you pick. The olive oil industry is huge. You can tell by the number of olive oil brands you see at the store. And you can bet they're all not made with the consumer in mind. And many of the brands even cut corners in one way or another to increase profits, like everything else these days. When Dr. Gundry came to this realization, he was appalled, folks. But some olive oils are so powerful, it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. And I take 3 to 4 a week. So how can you tell between an olive oil that can give you a health booster and which one isn't up to par? In an effort to answer that question, Dr. Gundry has decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. The video has gone viral since its release, and it's important you see it now and start benefiting immediately. This stuff really works, by the way. You can watch the video right now by going to getolive1.com/Nino. That's getolive1.com/Nino. Click on it now and get started, folks. This is huge. It's I implemented it in to help my muscles and my skin. All right, folks. Might want to turn it down or turn it up. I'm about to blow the lid off the hotel right now. Here we go, baby. Yeah. Coming at you live Live from the apocalypse, folks. Oh, yeah. All right, let's get into this. Lots of stuff developing. And I've said over and over and over why I believe Trump is putting the National Guard not only in D.C., but in many other cities to come. He means business, and he's closing in on the rats. So Trump meets with Putin today, and I believe this could have seismic, I'm talking seismic repercussions for Europe, NATO, and guess who else? Zelensky. Yeah. I'll be following this as it develops. Now, I've heard from Juanito a lot of stuff that's coming to a head right now. And Trump is acting really tough. He's pretending to be really tough with Putin, but who's he really going to be tough on? I think he's going to be a lot tougher on Zelensky in the coming days, weeks, and months. The two leaders are meeting in person for the first time since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion on Ukraine. This is the first time, folks, that they're meeting in Alaska to talk real business. And Zelensky is not going to be there. A lot of other deals will be made, from what I've been told. But first, in great Trump fashion, Gavin Newsom press conference in California, absolute rage and mayhem erupts. Federal border agents began raiding and arresting illegal immigrants outside Gavin Newsom's press conference, and it caused a total eruption from the LA mayor, Karen Bass. Now that Trump has sent in the National Guard to D.C., with more cities to come, people are very uneasy and are now beginning to lash out. They're beginning to lash out at Trump and the National Guard. So what does this mean? Well, people are becoming very uneasy, and they know the writing's on the wall, folks, especially the Democrats. They see what's happening here. But one thing you can bet on is the crime has completely stopped. It's completely stopped in D.C., but at a very high price. People feel that they're under surveillance like a prison and fear this is just the beginning of a police state. This is what people are saying. Checkpoints are now being set up all over D.C., pulling over people for DUI, deporting illegal immigrants, and arresting anyone who lashes out against the officers or troops. Is this what you want? Remember, folks, the cure has got to be greater than the disease. Now, I've always said, we could tolerate this for a little while, but then they got to go. The military do not stay on the street. Let's clean it up and go home. I can see it maybe a little bit sporadically spread around the city, but I think I speak for everyone here when I say we don't want military on the streets. We don't want a police state. All areas are on lock and the perimeters have been set. But for what? Trust me when I tell you more cities to come. And I got a feeling more cities before October. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, this is for arrests. Because when this happens, civil unrest is going to boom. If you think they rioted and protested for George Floyd, what do you think they're going to do for Hillary or Obama? It's going to be absolute mayhem. And then I believe, and I think as these phases of the operation continue and progress, I think we can see a lot more people arrested. And the perimeters have now been set with checkpoints in D.C. A lot of these people aren't going to be able to go anywhere. They're going to be closed, scared rats with nowhere to scurry to. Folks, I know what I'm looking at here. And what does this remind you of? It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, Germany when Hitler came to power. I'm not comparing Trump to Hitler by any means here. But what I'm saying is certain people got out of the way that were pretty smart. So I would imagine a lot of politicians that can see the writing on the wall might not be going back to D.C. and maybe fleeing the country. I don't know. John Brennan, one of them. That sure is the rumor out there. Roger Stone posted that. So remember that illegal immigrants will be activated for such a time as this, and that's why they are here. That's why, in my opinion, and I'm just going to say it's my opinion, that we have the National Guard going to all the Democratic hellholes because they're getting ready for the big party that I believe kicks off when the arrests begin. So killing two birds with one stone and using problem reaction solution to Trump's benefit, meaning problem, oops, well, the poor kid got jumped in D.C. by a bunch of hooligans. We need the National Guard on troops. Really? Do you really need National Guard on the streets with armored vehicles and Humvees just patrolling the city because of that incident? Or is there something else at play here? I'm going to say there's something else at play. So breaking, federal border agents began raiding and arresting illegal immigrants outside Gavin Newsom's press conference. They're spitting in his face. And it caused a total eruption from LA Mayor Karen Bass. Karen Bass lost her damn mind. They can't take it anymore, folks. Okay, so what else? Why would you do that? There is no way this is a coincidence. They decided they were going to come out and thumb their nose in front of the governor's face, is what Karen Bass says. Folks, they're propping up, the deep state is propping up Gavin Newsom, Beto O'Rourke, people like that to hopefully have a chance at 2028. That's what they're trying to do. Is it going to work? No. It's not going to work, because what I'm telling you here is they're going to dismantle and destroy the Democratic Party. And these guys will just be farts in the wind for what's coming. They should be scared as well. Now, I'm going to say this. If Gavin Newsom is not clickety-clank, clickety-clank, I'm going to start to feel like maybe one hand's controlling the whole board, and maybe they're purposely making him out to be the supervillain. Ukraine launches massive drone attack on Russia one day before Putin and Trump peace talks. The attack was one of the largest to date. So they're being very defiant, and they're going all in. Trump, Putin head in high-stakes Alaska summit with clashing objectives. The two leaders are meeting in person for the first time since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion on Ukraine. As the countdown is on for the much anticipated Alaska one-on-one meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, Moscow and Washington have been sending conflicting messages on what are their main goals and expectations for the summit. The U.S. president said he believes that Vladimir Putin is heading to the meeting wanting to make a deal to end Moscow's war in Ukraine. And what does Zelensky do? Sends out the biggest drone attack in history to date. So that tells me he doesn't want any kind of peace deal. I believe now he's convinced that he's going to make a deal. I think it's going to happen, but we'll find out, said Trump. I'm going to know very quickly, Trump said during an appearance on Fox News Radio. This isn't the first time Trump has made such a statement. He repeatedly stated that Putin wants to put an end to this full-scale invasion on Ukraine, or at least so that he convince or even push Putin to make some sort of deal. I think they're going to come out in agreement, and that agreement is going to be, we got to get rid of the little guy that wears high heels, if you know what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Ron Partain, my buddy, my pal, my good old friend. Ron, how's it going?
What up? How are you?
Good. So, man, look what's playing out here, Ron. What's your thoughts on all this? What's your thoughts on the Putin-Trump meeting in Alaska?
It's I think it's very strategic. Obviously, we're meeting in a place that Alaska was at one time Russian territory, and they sold it in, I believe it was 1867. I think it was 1867, and Andrew Johnson was the president. during Reconstruction, and they sold it because they did not want the British Empire to get their hands on it, because Canada is part of the British Empire. So Russia took it and sold it to the United States.
So there's
it
a lot of meaning here for this.
100%. And it's about the halfway point between Moscow and Washington, D.C., which is another reason why they met there. And a lot of people probably forgot. Remember that Russia, there was talk. I don't remember how long ago it was, but they talked about how, Russia wants Alaska back. You remember that?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk on that. A lot of talk.
Right. So, and I don't think there was anything to that. I think that was just a lot of bluster, and it was just a nothing burger. It was just, if you look at the media, man, it's so crazy because they literally make so many straw man arguments, but in fairness, Trump sends them down rabbit holes. He says things. A lot of people really don't give Trump the credit he truly deserves, because he says things and they cause the left to go apoplectic. And then and then they're chasing dog tails, dude. They're chasing their own tails constantly. He's running circles around them. I kind of wanted to touch on the Karen Bass thing a little bit, because
let's talk about that for a second. Because look, obviously, right as Gavin Newsom's having his conference, ICE raids all around that area happen.
Yeah,
Karen Bass is obviously she's
let me ask you, and I'm not asking this question because I'm trying to put you on the spot. How much do you know about Karen Bass and her history?
Not much, but I know what side of the fence she's on, like everybody else does.
So, I highly suggest I'll send you the link, but if anybody wants to really kind of delve into her, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out about her, but if you go to, because I started writing a Substack, and one of my main articles that I have on there right now is it says how a red diaper baby became mayor of Los Angeles. And it chronicles her entire history from when she was young. She grew up in West LA, and she went to a high school where almost all of the parents and all of the teachers were all communists. And when she got of age, she made multiple trips down to Cuba, learning tactics on everything. And a lot of people probably don't remember that the Capitol was bombed, and there was a group called M19, which is for May 9th. I think it was May 19th, but it was called M19. And one of the ladies was her last name was Rosenberg, and Bill Clinton pardoned her in the 90s. Bill Clinton pardoned her, and what they were responsible for was freaking bombing the U.S. Capitol. Okay, this isn't a sixth type thing, but actual bombing. They literally put a bomb in the Capitol building, and I want to say it was 1983. And Karen Bass knew those people and trained them.
Wow. Okay, so let's be careful here on FluffTube.
I get it. I'm just trying to give you an idea of who she really is. She came within a whisker of being the vice presidential nominee for Biden.
That's insanity. That's absolute insanity. So how do you think she's going to feel now that they're getting ready to deploy more National Guard, and they're supposed to stay there all the way through the Olympics? So from LA to Oakland, California braces for the Trump National Guard deployment. So they're getting ready to send a hell of a lot more deployments, National Guard deployments into LA, Oakland, the whole area. And they're going to say it's for, quote unquote, the Olympics. Now, Ron, I know we talked about this. You know what I feel is coming. I think we can all see the writing on the wall. I think the country's going into lockdown for the potential, the coming civil unrest when the shit hits the fan.
I agree with that.
So, when you
100%
see,
agree with that.
yeah.
Here,
When you see,
let me send you this. I'm going to send this in the. Do I send it in the private chat?
you can send it. Yeah, put it in the private chat. Alex will throw it up.
Okay, I only just so that people can see it. And I also posted it in the live chat. But it's dude, I I have a friend of mine who was writing an article on her, and he's like, he read it and he was like, oh wow, dude. He's like, you found things that I didn't even know existed. So I think I did a pretty thorough job. It's not short. It's actually quite thorough.
I think by the midterms, you have Newsom coming out. He's going to rezone everything for congressional rezoning to take Trump out of the White House. I think what's going to happen.
Well, they can't. No, they can't. Okay, so California actually implemented the only way that they can do that is if they amend the California Constitution. The California Constitution actually makes it so that you cannot do that. And I believe the left did that so that they could protect the power that they have. But all this crap that they're talking about in terms of Texas and some of these other red states that are going to redistrict in between.
Well, yeah, Newsom's saying that California is going to draw congressional maps to end the Trump presidency.
Yeah, but they can't. That's just talk.
Right, let me
rhetoric.
Let me read this article. So, California Governor Gavin Newsom said California will move forward with drawing new congressional maps that he said will end the Trump presidency and allow Democrats to take control of the U.S. House of Representatives. Donald Taco Trump, as many call him, missed the deadline. California will now draw new, more beautiful maps. They will be historic and they will end the Trump presidency. Dems will take back the House. Newsom wrote Tuesday night in a post written in the style of President Donald Trump's occasionally all caps social media post. What I see happening here, the deep state is obviously, we always knew this was going to happen. They're going to propel Newsom. And I think they got two people, the two favorites is going to be Beto O'Rourke and Gavin Newsom. Those are the two they're trying to propel on stage to see who makes it. And I bet you one of them is going to be vice president and one of them will be president, at least trying to be. Now, everyone knows my outlook on this. I think the Democratic Party is done. It's over. I think they're being dismantled. They're going to try their best with Newsom, try their best with O'Rourke, but they're going to fall short. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is just look at the political climate of the country and you see that the left is losing strength. It's like they're like honestly, if I can use a really if I can use an analogy, it's like they're like a 90-year-old man who used to be a triathlete who's now gasping for air as he's just in the first mile of a triathlon, and they're dying on the vine. There's no way in hell they're going to be able to do anything.
And for the most part, people are welcoming the National Guard on the DC streets. So there's some people that are lashing out. There's some people that are throwing things at them and they're getting arrested real fast. But for the most part, people are sick of the crime. They're sick of the violent crime. They're sick of the petty crime. And they're accepting the National Guard on the streets. People have been, so not only are them folks, this is true, not only are people throwing things at the National Guard, but other people are bringing them sodas, are bringing them drinks, bottled water, hugging them. That's what you're not seeing on the news.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
people don't know. They have no freaking idea. You know what? If you want a really good example of a city that was just in absolute chaos, and then somebody came in and cleaned it up, look no further than New York with Rudy Giuliani. Now,
100%.
I have my own issues with Rudy Giuliani. But at the same time, you cannot argue with the success that he had with the what was it, with the broken glass? I think it was called broken glass policing.
Right.
In other words, what it meant, like if you're criminal enough to break a piece of glass and you're criminal enough to jump a turnstile to rob a person, and it just keeps escalating. So the whole point there was they're going to go after everybody who is guilty of a crime, no matter how severe, even if it's this minuscule. But the point is that they're going to show, look, there's law and order, and people want law and order. If you look at what happened in New York, but when Ed Cox was there, people fled, and I think that there are. I know there's going to be people in the chat that can back me up on this.
Here's how I see it, Ron. If you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. If you're not a criminal, you have nothing to worry about. But if you're out there selling weed and drugs and things like that, and you're hurting people, you have a lot to worry about. You do. You actually do. But to me, I used to wonder about this when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s. What would it be like if there ever was some kind of martial law or police state? Well, I would think to myself, well, the country would have to reach a point that it's that bad. And we are at a point now where it's that bad. People are overdosing every day on fentanyl, on heroin, all over Skid Rows in Baltimore, San Francisco, everywhere. I think it's time we clean it up. I'm not against that at all.
Let me touch upon something you just said. Okay, so on the fentanyl crisis, in California has tons of. Can I say? Do I say 420? Can I say the? Can I say?
Hold on. Let me just answer somebody that put something in here. Selling weed, okay, is a crime. Okay, look, but weed now is laced with a lot of different things, folks. You don't know what you're getting. Okay, you don't know what you're getting. I'm not against or for weed. I've smoked it. I don't really care for it. It makes me paranoid. But you don't know what it's laced with these days. That's all I'm saying. All right, go ahead, Ron.
Well, okay, so the Chinese basically made deals with the cartels. This is how I understand it in the research that I've done. They made deals with the cartels. So now the cartels have basically just given up the entire weed growing operation to the Chinese in exchange for the Chinese giving them a constant supply of precursors to produce fentanyl.
Right. And a lot of the labs are actually not in Mexico. They're here in the States.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So a lot of people think it's coming directly from Mexico. There's nothing to cross. No. They were smart. They said, why take the risk of crossing it? We just go out to a desert somewhere in Arizona and make it there. I mean, that's right. How efficient these people are. They're not even crossing it anymore.
Actually, it's. I would say that it's probably not. I'd say it's a lot more sophisticated than that. It very well could be your next door neighbor.
100%.
You just don't know.
Well, everyone's seen Breaking Bad.
100%. That's a fantastic analogy.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening. They have it all unlocked. They're controlling everything. Right. And I think these drones that Trump is sending, he just sent the first drone out to past Mexico's borders, tracking and tracing these labs, but they're right here in America, folks. I'm going to tell you that right now. And very, very high quality stuff they're making. Correct, Ron? You know that.
Oh, absolutely. The stuff that they put together, the stuff they get, so the only problem with the fentanyl that's being produced by the cartels is it's not regulated from the standpoint that each batch is going to give you the exact same amount. So in a pharmaceutical world, what they would do is you're gonna measure out exact proportions, and it's going to be within a specific parameter so that you can say, okay, this particular product has 10 milligrams of active ingredient in it, right? Each tablet has 10 milligrams of active ingredient. You're not going to get that with fentanyl that's produced outside. It could vary widely, but at the same time, there's not going to be that much of a difference. Still, the problem with the fentanyl is that it's so dangerous because of just a tiny little bit. Although I will say it's probably exaggerated whenever you see stuff on television and you hear people, if they just like come into contact or they just touch a tiny little bit of it, that people are gonna, they're gonna inhale it and they're gonna. No, that's Hollywood version of
well, here's what I do know, that a lot of stuff's laced with it. I have friends that
It is
still
true.
party,
Yes.
that are still partying in clubs and bars, and they have to take medical testing kits to make sure they don't get a bad batch of whatever they're getting. Now, thank God I quit partying 5 years and 9 months ago because I'd be in a lot of trouble. But I'm just saying that a lot of the people that I still know that are out there doing it have to bring actual medical testing kits.
Yep.
People are falling over in bars and in clubs, dying.
Yeah, they're
every night in Scottsdale, Vegas, places like that. People are just, it's like a battlefield.
Yes. They're lacing it in Coke. They're lacing it in, they're lacing it in almost everything. So, and what it does, because it does offer that euphoric feeling. It's almost like it's almost like an enhancer, if you will.
Right.
So, I don't know if you know that I used to be a compounding pharmacy tech. Did you know that?
No, but now I do.
Yeah. Well, that's why I understand kind of like the Breaking Bad thing. I understand that because that's what I used to do. I used to do that full time. So, I understand a lot of the pharmacokinetics and how you're supposed to dress, the things you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to create lot numbers and keep track of everything. I understand all that, and they don't do that stuff with the street crowd.
No, they don't care.
And it's extraordinarily dangerous.
And that's why I've always said that the main tactic here is to take out our youth, or take out probably 60-70% of our population. More and more people are getting on this stuff, and it's getting more and more dangerous.
Well, yes, and you know what? But let's kind of take it back and look at I personally believe the government is complicit in this, and I'll tell you why. Because let me tell you why. So if you go back to the first part of, or the latter part of the 90s and the first part of the 2000s and into the 2000s, what they were starting to do is they started to implement when you go in for your vital signs at the doctor's office, they would say, okay, well, what's your blood pressure, what's your temperature, all that other stuff. Well, what they started to also do is they started to ask you what your pain was. And if your pain was at a certain level, they didn't even ask you about if you wanted it. They just shipped it to your door. I remember I went to the VA one time. I think it was like 2007, 2008. I went to the VA and they asked me about what my pain was. I gave them a number. I was like, whatever. I was like, because it was cold, whatever. It was in Virginia. And they just, the next, 3 days later, I had a freaking 100 Vicodin in my mailbox.
Wow. Who's your doctor? Just kidding.
I don't know. This was a long time ago. The point I'm making is that what they did was they flooded the market. The government flooded the market with all of these high-powered pain medications, opioids and opiates.
Got people addicted.
It got people addicted.
And then people had to go to the black market afterwards.
They withdrew it, and then they forced people out into getting it. I'm actually, speaking of Substack, I'm actually working on a Substack right now that talks specifically about this, and it's about how the 18th Amendment, the prohibition, was not created for the purpose of wasn't created for the purpose of like prohibiting people from taking drinks. It was actually created to foster the environment for organized crime and the furtherance of government overreach in terms of growing federal agencies. And I got a lot of evidence to back that up.
So I also want to hear from my audience in the chat if you agree with what we're talking about. And I'm going to read this next article. Federal agents in Trump's crime crackdown set up checkpoints in popular DC nightlife area. To me, this is almost like entrapment. But, Washington, D.C. steps away from the YMCA, a popular bakery, and a pharmacy. A group of law enforcement officers across several agencies turned a busy intersection in a mixed residential commercial area of Washington into a police checkpoint Wednesday night as part of President Donald Trump's directive to crack down on crime in the nation's capital. Now, I really want to know how people feel about this, especially, people go out to have some drinks, they go out to party, and now you're going to be pulled over for a DUI. I mean, I don't know if I agree with this so much, Ron. What do you say? I'd like to know, people in the chat, what you think. Obviously, they're going to get illegal immigrants as well, but I don't know about checkpoints being set up. It's one thing to patrol the streets. It's another to set up checkpoints. What's your thoughts on this, Ron?
Well, I guess it really depends on the severity of the situation. I understand people's reluctance for checkpoints. And I'm not a person that is very high on government overreach, but at the same time, I understand there are needs for temporary measures to combat things when they get too bad.
Yeah, but they're putting it in a district where people party. They know people are out there drinking. They know they're having a good time. I guess. Look, I mean, if you're not drinking and driving, you have nothing to worry about. I guess you got to catch an Uber. It's going to force people to catch Ubers, right?
Well, but also, dude, DC is not big, dude. DC is small. DC is not it's not a huge city. It's like 10 miles by 10 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not big. Compare that to Los Angeles. I mean, shoot, Los Angeles or even Phoenix for that matter. Dude, it takes you to get across Phoenix from one end to the other. It's like an hour and a half by car with no traffic. I mean, going across town from in Washington, D.C. is, like 15 minutes. And that's if you're hitting traffic lights and whatnot. So D.C. is just not a very big place. And not only that, but you also have the metro. So it's not like there's no public transportation there.
I agree with you 100%. But just to show you how they're not taking any shit at all in D.C., 20 officers came to arrest a man charged with throwing a sandwich at police officers in D.C. His lawyer says a man who worked for the Department of Justice was charged for allegedly throwing a sandwich at a federal law enforcement officer in Washington, D.C. amid President Donald Trump's takeover of the city's police and increase in federal law enforcement presence. The man, Sean Charles Dunn, appeared in court for initial hearing Thursday after 20 officers were sent to arrest him, his defense attorney told the judge. After a brief foot chase Sunday night, Dunn was initially detained and then released the next day with no charges, his lawyer, Sabrina Shroff, said. So they're not taking any shit. And Trump even said, look, you spit, you do anything to law enforcement, to our troops, we're gonna hit you back, is what he has said. So, folks, This is going to be the new normal. Get ready for it, because I'm telling you now, this is what is going to be the new normal with cleanup. And this is what has to happen when you have millions upon millions of illegal immigrants on the streets, that in fact we're going to be activated for such a time as this. So to me, they're getting ahead of the ball in more ways than one. Do you agree, Ron?
100%. And if people want to talk about if people want to talk about things that are like overbearing, are you familiar with like the laws in Singapore? I mean, I know that's not the United States.
Yeah, like 1 strike and you're out, bro. That's it.
Yeah, dude. You if you get caught with any drugs, almost any drugs, it's like almost a death penalty.
I think dude. I think it's life in prison, and especially if you're an American or a foreigner visiting there, you're done.
Yeah, gum is completely illegal. If you get caught spitting on the sidewalk, it's like a freaking $1,000 fine. I mean,
we got to be real careful. See, like it's like David Icke says, the totalitarian tiptoe. We got to be real careful that we're not headed into that direction, right? As we watch the pendulum go really far left, we got to watch this all together, make sure it does not go really far right. Now, I'm all for cleaning up the streets, getting the crime out of there, getting the drugs out of there. But there's a fine line, folks. There's a fine line before they start impeaching on your rights. You agree with me?
Yes, I do. And I want to say something to somebody in the chat. Said California, Glenn Pillar. California's lost. No, California's not lost. California can't be cleaned up. I guess I guarantee you this is California, because I'm in California. I mean, California is bad, but California is not lost. When the pendulum swings back, and it will, because it's already beginning. When the pendulum swings back, California will be the prize to live in again. It's just,
I agree.
it's
I
going to
think
take
it's going to
some time.
bounce back like never
Yeah.
before. Once Newsom's out of there, boom.
Yeah, you cannot make America great again without California. You just can't.
I agree. It's like saying Texas and California are right there next to each other.
Exactly.
Let's get to some border news. Mexico to extradite 26 top cartel leaders to U.S. in Trump administrational deal. Mexico is handing over 26 top cartel leaders to the United States this week in a deal with the Trump administration. The cartel figures were scheduled to fly to the U.S. on Tuesday. Today is the latest example of the Trump administration's historic efforts to dismantle cartels and foreign terrorist organizations. Attorney General Pam Bondi told Fox News that these 26 men have all played a role in bringing violence and drugs to American shores. Under this Department of Justice, they will face severe consequences for their crimes against this country. We are grateful to President Sheinbaum and the Mexican government for their collaboration in this matter. Now, I'm really confused about Sheinbaum because if you know who runs Mexico and you know who put her in there, it's the cartels. So there's a big tug of war for her soul right now. Who's she going to play ball with? It looks like she's playing with Trump. She's going to play ball with Trump. But let me tell you, at a very high price. What's your thoughts on that, Ron?
I do. I agree with that. I'm very skeptical of Sheinbaum. Number one, she has extraordinarily hard socialist leanings, and putting her in a place where it's, let's be real. The cartels know where Mexicans bread is buttered, and that's through tourism.
Yeah.
Now, so they're not going to mess with things that involve tourism, but you're not going to be. But in terms of like how the government is structured and how and things are run,
I wouldn't be too sure on that. Let's go to this. U.S. warns tourists do not travel to sections of popular vacation spots in Mexico. If you're traveling to Mexico anytime soon, you might want to take extra precautions before you go, and take note that there are several areas of the country where you should not travel. The U.S. State Department issued a travel advisory to Mexico warning tourists to exercise increased caution in the country due to terrorism, crime, and kidnapping. The agency also warned tourists to avoid traveling in 6 areas, including the states of Colima, Guerrero, Michoacán, Sinaloa, Tamaulipas, and Zacatecas. Due to I hope I said that right.
You did pretty good. You did pretty good.
All right. Combination of crime, terrorism, and kidnapping from cartels, terrorist groups, gangs, and other criminal organizations. Here's what I think, and I think this is coming. They're going to get so desperate. They're going to have to resort to things like this because they're going bankrupt. The border is completely shut down. They're going to go bankrupt. They're going to have to go for the low-hanging fruit. What's your thoughts, Ron?
Agreed. But I think some of that is media spin. One of my very good friends lives in the Yucatan Peninsula, and she tells me all the time it's like it's not nearly as bad there as a lot of the media is portraying it. I think it's really done for effect, but that doesn't mean that there's not some truth to it. But I think a lot of it is just trying to stir the pot for chaos, just for the sake of chaos. I don't know what the end game there is. I really don't, especially when it comes to Mexico. But maybe it could be that they're trying to provoke the cartels.
Who knows?
So let's think about this from an outside the box perspective. If tourism is the primary thing that keeps Mexico afloat, and they're now warning people don't go to Mexico, don't go down there for tourism, then how is Mexico going to respond? They're going to respond violently, perhaps, and it's very similar to like a Pearl Harbor type situation. I'm not saying it's going to be of that level or that magnitude, but I am saying they could fight back in subtle ways, or it could be This is them saying, look, we're going to try to prevent our people from going down there because your cartels are flooding our country with drugs. So I don't know. It could be it could be a tit for tat battle. I don't know. But I know that there's a lot of expats down in Mexico right now. And I have got a good friend who's one of them, and she says that it's not nearly as bad as everybody says. In fact, she says it's quite blissful.
So let's switch gears just for a second, and I'm going to read this next article. Advocates fear Trump's crackdown in D.C. will put many homeless people behind bars or in camps. Now, I've heard this is coming. What's your thoughts on this? As hundreds of National Guard troops deployed on Tuesday in the nation's capital, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said homeless people in Washington, D.C. who refuse to move into shelters will face prosecution or fines. Homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, Leavitt said during a press briefing when asked by NPR about the expanding crackdown. If they refuse, they will be subjected to fines or jail time. Now, I don't know how you all feel about this, but most homeless encampments that I've seen in every city, they're shooting up in the open. They're having sex in the open. They're doing things that are just really, you don't want your kids to see. Defecating on the streets. So me personally, I'm for this because if you're homeless and you want help, what better way than to go to some kind of encampment, maybe find a way out of it, but better yourself. I think by doing degrading, nasty things on the street is, if you would have asked me this a few years ago, I would have said absolutely not. I would have said no way. Everyone has a right to be homeless, but it's gotten so out of hand that I think I'm for this. I think I'm for sending them to encampments and to get help. What's your thoughts, Ron?
I agree.
Just because
I'm
it's
right
so
there with you. Yeah,
I'm right there with you. It's turned into debauchery. It's turned into just degenerative, just disgusting. The things they do, bro. Even in Austin, I saw them having sex. I saw them shooting up right there on the corner. You have kids. You're driving. You don't want to see that. So I think I'm for this. I can't believe the person I am today is not the person I was 5-10 years ago. No. I would have been like, no, if everyone has a right to be homeless, they want to be homeless, that's their right. But now the way that what it's turned into is like a big party on the streets of everyone shooting up, having sex. It's crazy.
Have you been noticing what's going on in Los Angeles at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning recently?
No, I'm not there.
Okay, so
what's going on?
So there's there are groups of people gathering in large numbers, and I mean large numbers, probably in the thousands, if not tens of thousands, and they're doing they'll get right next to like what used to be Staples Center, which is now what crypto.com arena. They'll do they're doing donuts in the middle of the street, and then they're doing
doing that in El Paso.
Fireworks and all kinds of stuff.
Is that catching on across the country or something?
I don't know.
In El Paso.
Yeah. But the police aren't doing anything, and the neighbors are angry because it's like they can't get any sleep.
Well, yeah, that's happening actually right next to my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. They were doing that for nights after night after night, and nobody was stopping them.
Yeah.
So this is probably catching fire across the nation.
Very, very possibly. I don't know where it originated. I didn't know it was going on in El Paso. I just know that it's been going on in Los Angeles.
All right, let's talk about this. Are you ready for some what the fuck?
Yeah, can I address something real quick? This is somebody has a question, and it's actually a really good question, and it's talking about the new California movement. You guys, you got to realize that in California, the way it works, if you're going to apply for statehood, if you are part of a state, you have to get approval from the state legislature to break away and form your own state. The only time that didn't happen was when was in 1863 when West Virginia broke away from Virginia to be included into the United States. And the primary reason is because Virginia had seceded from the United States. Therefore, they could. And they didn't necessarily need the permission of the Virginia legislature. They just did it on their own because they wanted to be part of the United States. I mean, there was a lot of people who didn't want to break away and they didn't want to secede. But in California, you're not. I understand what Paul Preston is trying to do, and that's the guy who's in charge of the New California movement. I understand it. I respect it, and I wish it could be something, but it's I don't. It for me, it's dead on arrival. So I just, from a constitutional perspective, I just don't see that it's feasible.
All right, let's get to what the fuck news. And what the fuck news and what the fuck news. Vikings under fire. Get this, folks, over male cheerleaders. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, what's wrong with a male cheerleader? Don't they pick the girls up and throw them and toss them in the air? No, not that kind of male cheerleader. They got the pom-poms, folks, and the mini skirts. So the Minnesota Vikings have come under fire for their new male cheerleaders, with some social media users saying they will no longer support the NFL team. While many fans may be seeing male cheerleaders for the first time at Viking games, male cheerleaders have been part of previous Viking teams and have long been associated with collegiate and professional cheerleading. The Minnesota Vikings said in a statement shared with Newsweek, responding to the backlash. Well, folks, I get what you're saying, but usually the male cheerleader is wearing a full suit, and he's wearing leggings, he's wearing pants, and it's a one-piece suit, and he's throwing the girls up. He's throwing them up, catching them. This is a little different. This is a little bit different. So the NFL is now caught in the crosshairs of a culture war. The NFL has frequently become the focal point of culture wars online over the past few years, with some criticizing it being too woke. Social media discourse has been prompted following the displaying of the pride flags and performance of the hymn, Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is often referred to as the Black National Anthem, and performance at the Super Bowl. So, are you going to boycott the NFL? What are you going to do? I mean, they're really using the NFL it's almost like the front lines of the culture war. And what would they do? Well, the most masculine sport there is, football. You got to overtake football to push this in. And, I knew something was up, and I know everyone's going to get on me for this, but I knew something was up when they started doing the pink thing for that time of the month for women. And I understand, I get it's for cancer, the whole thing, but I believe there was a lot more to it. They were just seeing how far they could go by men wearing pink and things like that. And then they go a little bit further. I'm telling you, folks, very soon you're going to see them wearing rainbow helmets. What do you think, Ron?
I absolutely agree with you. It's the old adage of give an inch and take a mile. The left has for a long time, what they do is they push and 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 they push until there becomes resistance. And when they start to get too much pushback, then what they do is they retreat.
Right.
And then once the pushback dies down, then they start to, or once the pushback starts, then they start to push again. And it's just gradual, dude. It's all incremental. It's extraordinarily incremental. And it's to the point where people, you do one thing, then you do another thing, then you do another thing, then you do another thing. And, you can't really measure success day by day, or even week by week, or even month by month. You measure it almost decade by decade.
Right.
And when you do things that incrementally slow, it's like, dude, if I would have told you in the 1980s what we would be dealing with today, you would have laughed your ass off and said you're full of crap.
Yeah, but it's like that's how they incrementally, what we would think it'd be completely insane 10, 20 years ago is normal now. Right. It's like the trend now. It's absolutely, dude, it's got to stop.
It's interesting that you say that, because I played this. I'm actually gotten pretty good at using AI, and I've actually trained my AI to think like me. So it's a little bit different than other just regular AIs. Mine is different. It understands how I think, and it actually
dating it.
What's I wish I could. No, I'm just playing. If I did that, it might have a problem. It might have a problem with my OnlyFans page. So,
yeah, exactly.
But I played a very interesting game with it one time. I said, I talked about all the things that were going on, and I said, okay, let's go back I want you to make the same arguments, or I want you to analyze the same arguments that this person is making, but do it with a frame it from a 1980s perspective, like a 19
wow.
like circa 1980. And it came back and it said all the things that they're saying that are what normal now, back in 1980 would have been categorically rejected even by the institutions today that support it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and that's where we're headed. I mean, if you just look at social media, I mean, who needs a reality show anymore? Remember when reality shows were big? And now everything you look at on Instagram, everything's a reality show. Everything is what it is today. I mean, dude, there's so much changing in real time right now. It's unbelievable to watch. It's like every day is a new it's who could be the weirdest, who could be the most shocking. It's all about likes and follows.
Yes.
There is no celebrity anymore. Everything's been diluted. Boxing, UFC, football, movies, it's all CGI. It's all crap now. Everything's been severely diluted. I think everyone is so immersed on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That's everything now. Everything else, what was big even 5 years ago, is dead now, and it's constantly evolving every day. It's an amazing time to be alive, but it's happening really fast. And I think this AI, where AI is going, who knows what the future is going to look like in 5 years, much less, let's just say in a year from now. It's happening so fast. I've heard AI is going to leapfrog everything in 2 to 3 years, and we're not going to even recognize the future. What's your thoughts, Ron?
I agree. But, you have to understand that AI is a tool, just like the internet was a tool, just like your cell phone is a tool, just like a firearm is a tool. It's just a tool, and it's
For
technology. It's technology, as you know. But when we think about this, how are they? You're always going to need people to help implement changes so that power production can power AI.
Well, AI needs data, and where does data come from? People.
Exactly. So if you remove human beings from the equation, AI loses its
AI
its
dies.
function.
AI dies. Yeah.
I've heard so many times, if you go back through history and you look at every single time there was a new technology that was going to come out, they would say, oh, well, you can't do this because it's going to kill humanity. Just to show you the absurdity, back in the late 1800s, do you know that they said that the human body could not sustain moving at 35 miles an hour?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They literally talked about, because it was about trains. A train would go like 35 miles an hour. If a train went past 35 miles an hour, they said it would cause too much stress on the human body. I mean, that just goes to show you, like, people don't know what they don't know, and they make predictions. It's like they talk about, when they talked about breaking the sound barrier. Okay, well, the plane that broke the sound barrier, they just didn't understand the aerodynamics of breaking the sound barrier, and once they figured it out, then the next thing you know, now they're breaking the sound barrier.
You know what I think's coming, man? It's like we're not going to be flying on planes in 30 to 50 years. We're going to be going to transportation. We're going to be going to transporting stations where you're just going to blink. You're going to be somewhere else. That's what I bet you's coming. Look no further than the Malaysian flight.
100%. Dude, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Do you remember the movie They Live?
Yes, I love that movie.
Okay, do you remember when they got to the point and he gives up there and he sees them, how they're just like stepping off into the thing and they just fly off?
Yep.
Dude, that to me, that is a foreshadowing of things that are out there that we could technically be using. I don't know if it's going to be exactly like that, but
I think it's going to be something we've never imagined.
100%. I mean, I remember when we were kids, they talked about, we're going to have flying cars when we get older. We're going to be living on the moon. We're going to be doing space travel, all these things. And, you look at the technology, the aerospace technology that existed in the 1960s, and you think, honestly, do you honestly think that is we still need rockets to get into space?
Right.
Really?
Exactly. And who would have thought you'd have driverless cars before flying cars? Like that's
Yeah.
something that I thought would never like I think it's a lot easier to make a flying car than a driverless car, changing lanes, driving by itself. I can't even believe the shit I see in Austin
100%.
or in San Francisco. It's unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, 100%. I
Well,
I couldn't agree more.
Ron, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to cut it right here. I'm going to go eat some breakfast. Ron
Hey,
Partain,
I'm gonna send
everybody,
you.
untoldhistory.tv. Go ahead.
I'm gonna send you one quick thing in the or I'm gonna post it in there. It's about a 15 to 20 minute video, and it's about how this guy really he talks about how like basically MK Ultra has essentially been put into social media, and one of the worst perpetrators is Instagram.
Wow.
So
Okay,
I'm gonna put that in
here. Hold
Yeah,
on.
no.
Let's read some super chats.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's get some super chats up, Alex. Cougar player 8 mom. Cougar mom, huh? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Lucia Robertson, thank you so much. Super sticker. Michelle Christians TV is fire. Oh, thank you. Thank you, your team, for all you do. We're doing our best. Thank you.
Yep.
Anthony Hummer, do you all hear Australia is banning machetes starting September? I mean, doesn't surprise me at all. Next one. Susan, Diane, Ron, do you have any insight on the new California proposal to carve out a couple of cities and take back the rest?
That's what I talked about.
All right. Next one. Vicky Bartone, I believe Trump is taking care of the people that really want to help, and the drug people that will have to be up on the street will have to be up on the street. I agree. Look, it's either you want help, but you can't be a detriment to society. So I think he's doing the right thing. I can't believe I'm saying this. 5, 6, 7 years ago, I wouldn't have agreed with any kind of martial law or soft police state, if you want to call it that. But we got to watch where it's heading. All right, next one. Thank you. Artemis Supreme. Is that what it says? US Prime 111. Thank you, Nino. You and your show is now becoming the new Art Bell show. All you need to talk about on your shows is about Ghost. I need to talk about ghosts or bring Ghost on. All you need to talk about on your show is about Ghost. All right, so I'm guessing apparitions and ghosts and shit like that. All right, folks, we're done. We're out of here. Ron Pertain, untoldhistory.tv, untoldhistory.blog. Thank you, Ron, for joining me, folks.
Hey,
thank you.
Because we're kind of coming up on the 9/11 thing, can I tell you just something really interesting?
You got an OnlyFans special?
Yeah, I do, actually. So check this out. Do you know what the 4 flights were?
I don't know if you could talk about this on Fluff too, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's kind of
you just never know. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one was Flight 11. The second one that hit the North Tower or the South Tower was 175. The tower that, or the plane that hit the Pentagon allegedly was Flight 77, and the plane that landed or that crashed in Shanksville was 93. Okay, so a couple of interesting facts. This is from a numerology standpoint. Okay, the number 11 in esoteric stuff means it is basically an opening or a beginning of transformation.
Okay.
175, which is the second one to happen, means that it is the death and the rebirth, sacrifice. Number 77 means that it is it's like a ritual judgment or spiritual warfare. And then 93 means completion. Now, this is something that's really interesting that I found very fascinating. 93 crashed in Shanksville. 77 crashed at the Pentagon. Flight 11 hit the North Tower at the 93rd floor, and Flight 175 hit the South Tower at the 77th floor.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Some fun facts for you, gentlemen.
Fun facts, because we're coming up on that. We're less than a month away from that. So anyway, just some interesting things that make you go,
All right, Ron, I want to bring you on the morning show again, man. I think people love
All
you.
right.
I had a good time with you. We had some good banter going back
Yeah,
and forth.
awesome.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank
All right,
you, everybody.
Alex.
Hey, Nino.
All right, so what do you think of the show today?
Yeah, man, it was good. It's great. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, it was fun.
It's been a good additive, right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, no, it's great to get Ron's perspective. And man, I mean, I have to agree about the homeless thing. And it's I would have been the same way like 5-7 years ago. It's like, oh, people have a right to live if they can't, they're down on their luck. But there's a lot of other factors that are in on this, that go into it.
Crazy how, like, is it me, or like as you get older, you do start, seems like you start turning a little more conservative when you see the reality of the world, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't believe, like 5-6 years ago, I would have said, homeless people, let them be homeless. Don't touch them. Leave them alone. That's their right. Now, with the way it's gotten so out of hand, and they're really impeding on people walking the street. You got to walk over, human, crap, needles, having tents. Why should we have to live that way? It's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, it's not. It's incompatible with civilization. It's not civilized. We're in a civilized society. You can, if you want to go out in the woods and camp, then you could do that. But you can't. These people can't survive.
Yeah, but they're still making a mess. I was just driving down the street here in San Antonio, and there's the little wooded area next to Walgreens, and of course there's a tent in there, cans, needles, everything in there. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous, dude. It's like, man, so like, who's gonna have to go in there and clean that all up? And there's human feces, everything. I mean, to me, man, I cannot believe I'm even saying this, but I think I agree with it. Like, but send them somewhere to get help, and then reintroduce them into society.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think. I think we need to bring the asylums back. Now we have a much better understanding of like mental illness, and we have different technologies and treatments. We're living in 2025. It's not 1925 or 1875 when it was brutal there. But like asylums, it can be like a therapeutic place, and then that has stages of, as people progress through their treatment and mental healing, then they, get on a path to be back reintegrated into society and all that. But it's we need another solution, something.
I do too. I agree. And a lot of people are saying, oh, you're for the police state. No, I'm not. I'm saying the cleanup is what we need, but we cannot. No, I don't want military on the streets. I don't. But guess what? The crime is so bad now. Whether that was done by whether that was engineered, well, hey, that's up for debate. Problem, reaction, solution, that's up for debate. Was that all done so that we do bring in the military and have a police state? Hey, that's up for debate. With that being said, folks, I'm signing off. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks,
appreciate everybody. And the new heavyweight champion of podcasting and the black sheep of broadcasting, folks.